Hi everyone, welcome back to the Eve's Journey video tutorials. In this video tutorial we will be making the border for the pillowcase. Now with the border you can substitute the puff stitches for either popcorns or a double crochet cluster, so a double crochet 3 together if you don't want to do puffs. So this part is fairly simple. It's based on my wheat stitch pattern. Now to do this round, make sure that your joining is 59 stitches, so it's a multiple of 6 plus 5. So let's get started, and we will start with the border of the Eve's Journey pillowcase. Okay, to start round 1 of the border, we're going to start in the chain 2 corner at the bottom of the pillowcase. What we're going to do in the chain 2 corner, make a standing double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, and we do that twice. So chain 2 again, double crochet in the same space, and that's our corner for the border. Next we want to chain 1 and skip 2 stitches. So the first stitch is that single crochet in the corner, so 1, 2, and we want to make a double crochet in the next stitch, chain 1, skip 2 stitches, make a V1, which is just your normal V with 1 chain in the next stitch, and we repeat that, chain 1, skip 2, double crochet, chain 1, skip 2, V1 in the next, all the way to the corner. So you'll have 2 stitches remaining. So once you get to the corner with 2 stitches remaining, come back to the video and I'll show you how to do the next corner. Okay, I've done my repeat to the corner, and you finish with a double crochet. So next what we want to do is chain 1, skip 2 stitches, V in the chain 2 space, a double crochet in the chain 2 space, chain 2, double crochet twice into the same space. And you just repeat that around, all the way around to the start of the round. So we're working, when we come down to the bottom edge, we're working through the single crochet that were made on the front of the pillow. And so pause the video and I'll meet you back at the start of the round. Okay, so I'm back at the start of the round, and to finish off, just chain 1 and slip stitch to the first double crochet and fasten off, and that is round 1 of the border complete. Let's go on to round 2. Okay, to start round 2, I'm going to make a V1 in the second double crochet in the corner. Okay, start with a standing stitch, chain 1, and then this is our repeat for the side, puff, chain 1, puff in the V in the chain 2 space, chain 1, skip the chain 1 space, double crochet in the next stitch, chain 1, skip the chain 1 space, puff, chain 1, puff in the V. So we're going to repeat that. Chain 1, skip the chain 1 space, double crochet into the next, chain 1, skip the chain 1 space, puff, chain 1, puff into the next V. So repeat that to last V before the corner, and so pause the video and I'll meet you at the last V before the corner. Okay, so I've done my repeat to last V before the corner. What we want to do is chain 1, double crochet in the next stitch, chain 1, and then in the chain 2 space we make a puff, chain 1, puff, next we chain 1 and we do a V1 in the next double crochet, and that is our repeat for the side. So our repeat is chain 1, puff, chain 1, puff in the chain 2 space, and then we repeat chain 1, skip the chain 1 space, double crochet into the next, chain 1, skip the chain 1 space, puff, chain 1, puff into the V1. We repeat that to the last V, and then we do chain 1, skip the chain space, double crochet into the next, chain 1, skip the chain space, puff, chain 1, puff into the V2, into the chain 2 space, chain 1, and then a V1 into the next double crochet. So repeat that around, omitting the last V1 in the corner. So pause the video and I'll meet you back at the start of the round. Okay, so I'm back at the start of the round and I've done a puff group in the last chain 2 space. So all we need to do is slip stitch to the V1. I've done a chain 1 after that puff group too. Right, that's round 2 of the border complete. Let's go on to round 3. To start round 3, we need to slip stitch to the chain space of the V1 and make a starting puff. So just pull up a loop and make a puff 4. Chain 1 and then puff into the same space, and that is the corner puff done. Sorry, it's meant to be puff 2, sorry, chain 2. So puff, chain 2, puff in that corner V1. Next, chain 1, double crochet into the next stitch. Now it might be a bit difficult to get into. Chain 1, puff, chain 1, puff into the next chain space between the puffs, chain 1, double crochet, skip the puff and chain space, double crochet in the next stitch. So that will be our repeat. Chain 1, skip the chain space and puff, puff, chain 1, puff in the chain space between the puffs, chain 1, skip the puff and chain space, double crochet into the next, and we just repeat that until we get to the corner, the last puff group in the corner. So finishing the last puff group in the corner, pause the video and I'll meet you back at the last puff group. Okay, I've done my repeat and I've finished in the last puff group before the V1. Next, chain 1, skip the puff and chain 1 space, double crochet into the next stitch, chain 1, puff, chain 2, puff into the V1, chain 1, double crochet into the next stitch, and that is our repeat for the round. So our repeat is chain 1, the chain 1 is part of the corner, puff into the next puff group, chain 1, double crochet into the next, chain 1, puff, chain 1, puff into the next puff group. So we repeat that to the corner, and then we chain 1, skip the puff and chain 1 space, double crochet into the next stitch, chain 1, puff, chain 2, puff in the V1, chain 1, double crochet into the next stitch, chain 1. So that is our repeat for the round, and you'll be finishing on a puff group and then a chain 1, double crochet into the next stitch and chain 1. So you'll be finishing with that double crochet in the corner. So pause the video and I'll meet you back around at the start of the round. Okay, so I'm back at the start of round 3 and I've done a double crochet in that double crochet of the V1, chain 1 and slip stitch to the first puff stitch, and that is round 3 of the border complete. Let's go on to round 4. Okay, to start round 4 we need to slip stitch into the chain 2 space and make a starting puff. Chain 2, skip the puff stitch and the chain 1 space, and into the double crochet make a V1, chain 2. Now this is our repeat for the side, puff in the chain 1 space, chain 2, double crochet, chain 1, V into the double crochet, chain 1, and we just repeat that, and just repeat that to the last puff group before the corner. So this puff group here, and pause the video and I'll meet you back at the corner. So our repeat is chain 1, V into the double crochet, chain 1, puff into the chain 1 space. So repeat that to the last puff group before the corner, and I'll meet you there. Okay, so I'm at the last puff group before the corner. What we want to do is chain 2, V into the double crochet, V1, sorry, chain 2, puff into the chain 2 space, chain 2, skip the puff and chain 1, V into the double crochet, chain 2, and that is our repeat for this round. Puff into the chain 1 space between the puffs, chain 1, V into the double crochet, chain 1, and we repeat that, finishing with a puff in the last chain in between the last 2 puffs in the last puff group before the corner. Then we chain 2, V into the double crochet, chain 2, puff between the 2 puffs in the chain 2 space, chain 2, skip the puff and chain 1, V into the double crochet, chain 2. So that is our repeat for the round. So pause the video and I'll meet you back at the start of the round. Okay, so I'm at the end of round 4 and I've finished with a chain 2, V, chain 2 before the puff in the corner. So all we need to do is just slip stitch to the first puff and fasten off. And that is round 4 complete. Let's go on to our final round, round 5. Okay, to start round 5, we need to make a standing front post single crochet around the corner puff, and then we'll make, so we skip the chain 2, make 2 treble, chain 2, 2 treble, into the V1, skip the chain 2, front post single crochet around the puff, so that's part of our corner. Next, 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet in the V1, and that's our repeat, front post single crochet, 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet in the V, and we repeat that, finishing with a front post single crochet around the last puff before the corner, so before the chain 2. So pause the video and I'll meet you at the last puff before the corner. Okay, so I've repeated the front post single crochet, 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet in the V1 all the way to the last puff before the chain 2 corner. So next we want to make 2 treble, chain 2, 2 treble in the V1, front post single crochet around the puff, and that is our repeat for the round. So we skip the chain 2, front post single crochet around the puff, 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet in the V1, and we repeat that to the last puff, finishing with a front post single crochet, and then we make 2 treble, chain 2, 2 treble in the V1, and then front post single crochet around the puff, and then we do 2 treble, chain 2, 2 treble in the next V1 in the corner. And that is our repeat for the round. So pause the video and I'll meet you back at the start of the round. Okay, so I'm back at the start of the round and I have finished with a 2 treble, chain 2, 2 treble in the V1 with the 2 chain either side. So all we need to do is just slip stitch to the first front post single crochet and fasten off. And that is the Eve's Journey complete. Just sewing your ends for your border, and that is the pattern complete. All you need to do now is just to put your pillow insert in, and you can put it on your couch or in a sitting chair. Yeah, and I hope you've enjoyed making this pattern, and if you like, just share the pattern, share the link for the pattern that's in the description below, and tag me on Instagram or Facebook and use the hashtag Eve's Journey. And yeah, so thank you for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Okay, thank you. Bye.